I'm Foglia, this is BEME News, and we are not supposed to be here. Security is on its way. Okay, this is much more my speed. A room in between floors that is literally not even on the building's floor plan. I feel right at home. So here's the thing. North Korean and Iranian athletes got screwed out of free, tricked out cell phones. I'm talking about special edition Samsung Note8s distributed to some 4,000 Olympians participating at Pyeongchang Games.
Wait, it's Pyeongchang, guys.
She grew up in Arkansas, by the way, not a joke. Now, if you're a dictator like this guy, a top-of-the-line cell phone isn't just a gift, it's a weapon. And you don't want that getting in the hands of the people you oppress. Samsung gave these phones to the International Olympic Committee to distribute to Olympic athletes. Initially, the IOC didn't give them to the North Koreans or the Iranians, fearing the gifts would violate UN sanctions. It's not exactly clear if the phones would indeed violate these sanctions, so the Iranians were pissed off, and they wanted the phone, plus an apology for good measure. The IOC eventually acquiesced. The Iranians and North Koreans were offered the cell phones, and yes, the Iranians got an apology. But it's not clear what happened with the North Koreans. I reached out to the IOC several times, and they gave me non-answers. I emailed Samsung, and they referred me back to the IOC. I called my mother, but that conversation has nothing to do with this report. Anyway, a South Korean news agency reports that North Korea rejected the free, super exclusive, nearly $1,000 phones. One of the poorest, least tech-savvy countries in the world said, no thanks. Why? First off, remember the phones in question are made by Samsung. That's South Korea's biggest and most high-profile company. So these phones symbolize the technological and economic success of South Korea. They represent the stark difference between the two Koreas. And it's not a comparison that makes the supreme leader feel good about himself. Get out. In fact, North Korea's authoritarian regime goes to great lengths to ban South Korean culture from infiltrating their border.
드라마, 아이돌 그룹의 가수 노래들 많이 들어가면서 북한이 무너지고 있는 겁니다.
An expert I spoke to said people caught smuggling South Korean movies, TV shows, and other elements of pop culture into North Korea are often executed. I mean, God forbid the wonders of K-pop corrupt the minds of Kim Jong-un's subjects. Interestingly though, cell phones are not banned in North Korea. Yun-ho Kim, a researcher who specializes in the country's telecom industry, told me that cell phones are becoming increasingly popular there, and that the North Korean government wanted to celebrate the 100th birthday of their founder, Kim Il-sung, by demonstrating progress and strength. So the regime pursued two goals: build a nuclear weapon and make cell phones available in the country. Against all odds, the government found an Egyptian telecom company that was willing to make an expensive investment in the country's infrastructure, and boom, now the Kim regime could claim they were, tech savvy or whatever. Happy 100th birthday, eternal president of the republic. As an aside here, the North Korean government royally screwed that Egyptian telecom company, Orascom. Orascom has about $600 million in North Korea, but the North Korean government is prohibiting them from taking that money out of the country. But it's hard to feel sympathetic for a corporation that does a deal with a dictator. Anyway, North Koreans really like their new cell phones. Obviously, they're beneficial to people in the business world. Communication is key to running a business, but cell phones have also become a status symbol in North Korea. Yun-ho said for many North Korean teens, a cell phone is even perceived as a prerequisite to getting a girlfriend, something along the lines of having a cool car in the US.
This is a nice car.
Yeah, it's my sister's.
But big but here, the cell phones available in North Korea suck. For starters, there's a perception that the government monitors all phone calls and text messages. Whether or not that is technically possible for an incompetent bureaucracy is a bit of a question mark, but in this case, perception is reality. So North Koreans avoid criticizing the government on their cell phones. The available cell phones also don't have internet access, data transfers are banned, so no photo attachments, and they are incapable of making international calls because if North Koreans start calling people in South Korea or Japan or wherever, they might realize that everything the government has told them is, well, fake news. Some of the most amusing propaganda, by the way, include the claims that former leader Kim Jong-il invented the hamburger, was born underneath a double rainbow, and never took a shit. Dushyant, please fact check that one. Look, the state-sanctioned version of history is comical at points, but internally, it's used to keep oppressed citizens docile. It fosters this idea that the world hates North Koreans, and only the supreme leader is capable of providing protection. And because North Korea is closed off to the rest of the world, there is no counter-narrative. But if contact with the outside world is established through cell phone communication, maybe North Koreans will realize that they live in abject poverty, that their leaders are corrupt, and that they should and could topple the regime. And perhaps they'll use their cell phones to organize rallies and distribute information, or to take and spread photos of police misconduct. That's happened time and again in recent years, from the Arab Spring to recent protests in Iran. That's the reason oppressive governments often shut down cell service when there's unrest. In San Francisco in 2011, the Transportation Authority shut down cell service in train stations to try to slow down the growth of a protest related to the police shooting of a homeless person. I wish I was surprised that happened in America. But now it makes sense to me why North Korea didn't want their athletes to get these free, tricked out cell phones. They don't want them to access the world, because the free flow of information is a dangerous thing when you're a tyrant or the supreme leader. Okay, I'm gonna live my life. A quick note of disclosure here. The co-founder of BEME is a Samsung spokesperson, but he had nothing to do with this story. Nonetheless, we like him. Oh, also this set is temporary and we're working on stuff. I don't know why I said that, but no.